The harmattan wind whistled through the trees of Ugu village as 3-year-old Chidi clutched his small wooden toy, the only thing left from his late mother. His father had remarried 6 months after his mother's death, bringing home Adana, a woman whose smile never reached her eyes when she looked at the boy. "That child is a burden," Adana whispered to her friend Nkem as they sat under the mango tree, watching Chidi play alone in the dust. "Every time I look at him, I see his mother's face. How can I give my husband sons when this constant reminder of his first wife haunts my house?" Nkem nodded sympathetically. "Some women are blessed, others must create their own blessings." When Chidi's father, Akwu, left for the city to sell palm wine, Adana saw her opportunity. She had been married for 2 years now, and her womb remained empty while this child, this living ghost of her husband's first love, thrived under her reluctant care. "Chidi, come here," she called sweetly, her voice dripping with false honey. "Would you like to visit your grandmother?" The little boy's eyes lit up. He had heard stories of his grandmother, his mother's mother, who lived deep in the forest. "Yes, Mama Adana." She packed a small bag with his few belongings and led him down the winding path that disappeared into the thick bush. The forest seemed to swallow them whole, with towering irako trees creating a canopy so dense that little sunlight touched the forest floor. After walking for what felt like hours, Adana stopped at a small clearing. "Wait here, Chidi. I will go find grandmother's house. Don't move, do you understand?" The trusting child nodded, settling down with his wooden toy. "I'll wait right here, Mama Adana." But Adana's footsteps faded into silence, and she never returned. The first night, Chidi called out for her until his voice grew hoarse. He ate the small piece of yam she had left him and drank from a nearby stream. When the sun set, he curled up against the base of a large tree, shivering despite the warm air. The second day brought hunger pangs and the terrifying sounds of the forest. Monkeys chattered overhead, while his imagination turned every shadow into a leopard. He cried for his father, for his mother, for anyone who might hear. By the third day, Chidi was weak from hunger and dehydration. His small voice had become a whisper as he called out weakly, "Papa. Mama, please." Meanwhile, Chief Emeka Okafor was driving his black Mercedes through the forest road, returning from a business meeting in the neighboring village. A successful oil businessman who had built his empire from nothing, he was known throughout the region for his wealth and generosity. But success had come with a price. He had never married, never had children, always too busy building his fortune. The sharp sound of his tire bursting echoed through the forest. "Amadioha," he cursed, pulling over to inspect the damage. As he stepped out to survey the flat tire, something made him pause. There, carried on the wind, was the faint sound of a child crying. Chief Emeka stood still, listening. The sound was so weak, so desperate, that it seemed to come from the very soul of the forest itself. Following the sound, he pushed through the underbrush until he found a small clearing where a tiny figure lay crumpled against a tree. "Hey!" he exclaimed, rushing to the child. Chidi's lips were cracked, his small body trembling. "Who did this to you, my child?" As Chief Emeka lifted the boy, Chidi's eyes fluttered open. In his feverish state, he whispered, "Mama Adana," she said, "grandmother." Chief Emeka's heart clenched. This was clearly abandonment of the cruelest kind. He rushed the child to the nearest hospital, where doctors worked through the night to save him from dehydration and exposure. During Chidi's recovery, Chief Emeka made inquiries in the village. He learned about the boy's tragic story, his mother's death, his father's remarriage, and his mysterious disappearance. When he confronted Adana, she claimed the boy had wandered off while she was distracted. "I searched everywhere," she lied, tears streaming down her face. The forest spirits must have taken him. But Chief Emeka saw through her deception. Something in her eyes revealed the truth. However, without proof, he could only take custody of the boy when Akwu, overwhelmed by grief and believing his son was lost forever, agreed to let the wealthy businessman adopt him. "He will have a better life with you," Akwu said, his voice hollow with loss. "I have nothing left to give him." Years passed, and Chidi grew into a brilliant young man under Chief Emeka's care. He excelled in school, studied abroad, and eventually returned to take over his adoptive father's business empire. But he never forgot his origins or the woman who had left him to die. Adana's life, meanwhile, had become a nightmare of regret. Month after month, year after year, her womb remained empty. She consulted doctors, traditional healers, and prayer houses, but nothing worked. Her husband grew distant, their marriage became strained, and she found herself haunted by dreams of a crying child in the forest. "It's a curse," the old women in the village whispered. "The spirits of the forest are angry with her." 25 years after that fateful day, Chidi, now known as Chief Chidi Okafor, had become one of the most successful businessmen in West Africa. His companies employed thousands, his philanthropic work had built schools and hospitals across the region, and his name was spoken with respect from Lagos to Abuja. But success hadn't filled the void in his heart. He still carried his mother's wooden toy, still wondered about his father, and still carried the pain of abandonment like a scar across his soul. One day, his assistant brought him a letter that would change everything. It was from Adana, now aged and desperate, begging for an audience with the great Chief Chidi Okafor. "I have information about your past," she wrote. "Please, I beg you, grant me this one meeting. My conscience can bear this burden no longer." Chief Chidi agreed to meet her at his Lagos office. When Adana entered, he barely recognized the woman who had condemned him to death. She was thin, her hair completely gray, her eyes hollow with years of suffering. "I know who you are," she said without preamble, falling to her knees. "You are Chidi, son of Akwu, son of Ngozi who died too young. And I am the woman who tried to kill you." The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Chief Chidi's face remained impassive, but his hands trembled slightly. "I took you to the forest," Adana continued, her voice breaking. "I left you there to die because I was jealous, because I wanted your father's love all to myself, because I thought your death would give me the children I desperately wanted." She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "But I was wrong. So wrong. The spirits have punished me every day since. I have lived 25 years without a child, 25 years of an empty womb and a marriage that died with my lies. I have had nothing but regret and nightmares." Chief Chidi stood up slowly, walked to his window, and looked out at the bustling Lagos traffic below. "Do you know what you cost me?" he asked quietly. "I grew up believing I was unwanted. I achieved everything I have today trying to prove that I was worthy of love, worthy of staying alive." "I know," Adana whispered. "I know, and I am sorry. I am so sorry." He turned back to her. "My father, our father, did he ever learn the truth? He died 5 years ago, still believing you had been taken by spirits. He never remarried after I left him. He spent his last years looking for you, asking every traveler if they had seen his lost son." Chief Chidi closed his eyes, feeling the weight of all those lost years. "And what do you want from me now? Forgiveness? Redemption?" "I want nothing," Adana said. I deserve nothing. I came here only because I could not die with this secret. I came to tell you that you have a father who loved you, who mourned you every day until his death. I came to tell you that the fault was mine alone." For a long moment, the only sound was Adana's quiet sobbing. Then Chief Chidi spoke, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I forgive you," he said simply. "Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to let your actions continue to poison my life. I forgive you so that I can finally be free." Adana looked up at him in disbelief. "You forgive me?" "I forgive you," he repeated. "But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. You must live with what you've done, just as I have lived with what was done to me." As Adana left his office, Chief Chidi sat alone, holding his mother's wooden toy. For the first time in 25 years, he felt truly at peace. He had found his answers, faced his past, and chosen healing over hatred. In the days that followed, he established a foundation in his father's name to help abandoned children, ensuring that no child would suffer as he had suffered. And sometimes, when the harmattan wind blew through Lagos, he could swear he heard his mother's voice whispering words of love and his father's voice calling his name. The forest had taken a child and returned a man. The abandoned boy had become the savior of many. And in forgiving the woman who had tried to destroy him, Chief Chidi had finally found the peace that no amount of wealth could buy. Adana returned to her village, where she lived out her remaining years in solitude, carrying the weight of her confession but also, for the first time in decades, the possibility of redemption. She never had children, but she spent her final years caring for orphans in the village, as if trying to atone for the child she had nearly destroyed.